Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Achintya Bhed Abhed is an incredible idea. Imagine, it's not even saying you're one with another human being. You're saying you're one with God, and yet you are not God. This centeredness, as AI comes into full play around us, people will feel more and more anxious. They will feel more and more decentered. But that centeredness, to really look at the world from a post-anthropocentric point of view, this is India's, in my humble opinion, this is India's task. It is India's journey. And as Indians, we must come together to present this vision to the world. India is going through a very difficult inflection point, and the path ahead will not be easy because, nobody wants to see a culturally confident billion people rise again.
Namaste and welcome to Sangam Talks. Today we are here in the studio with Hindol Sen Gupta. Hindol is a multiple award-winning author and historian of 13 books, no less. His books on Srila Prabhupada have won international acclaim. His book, Being Hindu, was awarded the Wilbur Award. His one book was shortlisted for the Hayek Prize. Let us meet Hindol today and talk about his work, his life, and his life as a teacher as well. So Hindol, welcome to the show. And we are going to talk about this book today and his other 12 books as well. This is called Sing, Dance and Lead, Leadership Lessons from the Teachings of Srila Prabhupada, founder Acharya of ISKCON. The first question that comes to mind, Hindol, is why this book? There are numerous books on Srila Prabhupada. So why did you write this one as well?
Well, thank you very much. Let me first say what a delight it is to have met you. I have never met you before, but it's a real pleasure to meet you and a pleasure to once again be associated with the great Sangam platform. Thank you for your kind invitation, and I'm very happy to be here. Let's talk about why this book, as you said, and why the book before that, Sing, Dance and Pray. You see, if you look at the entire work that has happened on the ISKCON part of Gaudiya Vaishnavism, right? Gaudiya Vaishnavism, of course, as we all know, starts from this great bhakti movement saint called Chaitanya. Mahaprabhu, of course, within Gaudiya Vaishnavism, he is considered not only a great saint, but also an avatar of Sri Krishna, right? But in the work on ISKCON, until I began to work on this a few years ago, all the work on ISKCON had happened by and through insiders, in the sense monks or devotees of the ISKCON movement who were part of the movement had done work on it. Srila Prabhupada himself wrote a lot. Remember, they had the Bhaktivedanta Book Trust also, they published a lot. So it was all basically people from the inside looking at themselves. And therefore, some of it also tended to be slightly hagiographic, as they always will be. Any tradition looking at themselves would tend to use hagiographic references. But my book on Srila Prabhupada, Sing, Dance and Pray, was the first time an outsider worked on Srila Prabhupada. Okay. So therefore, you will see my book is dramatically different from anything else that has been written about him, because it really gives you historical context. Why did this man succeed? And there are many answers to that question, right? Nobody succeeds in isolation.
Correct.
You have to see the historical context. You have to see where they came from, what their impulses were, what were the sociological and political forces that assisted their success. And if you read Sing, Dance and Pray, which is the prequel to Sing, Dance and Lead, a lot of it is really putting that in context. Srila Prabhupada emerged at a time in America. There was no reason for him to succeed, but for the fact that he had this absolute undaunting spiritual belief that this was his quest and his master had told him to do this. And he landed in America at a time when there was great ferment there. People were rejecting the so-called military-industrial complex.
Yes.
They were seeking something else. And you will note that even the Beatles had tried other forms of Indian spirituality. They had an association with Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, for instance. right? So there was in America this ferment of moving away, from the ills of the Vietnam War, from this constant, body bags returning home, this vast military industrial complex which only spoke about conflict. Young people in America were rejecting this. And in that appeared Srila Prabhupada with his unique message of love, of surrender, of really, in many ways, a better life. And I mentioned in that book also, there's this wonderful, I did during my research, I discovered this wonderful video of the beatnik poet Allen Ginsberg, who was a Srila Prabhupada devotee. He's having this conversation on TV with this, conservative intellectual, right?
Okay.
And they're having this great conversation, and at some point, Allen Ginsberg says that you're not understanding what I'm trying to say. And he pulls out from under the table this little harmonium, this really tiny little, I've never seen such a small harmonium. And he begins to sing the Maha Mantra. And he says, maybe if you hear this, you will understand what I'm talking about.
Okay.
So all of this, it has a context, right? You have to see what's happening in America at that time. Why were people... Also, Srila Prabhupada managed to do these incredible Rath Yatras in San Francisco. And you have to ask the question, what did these people who were watching this and giving permissions think about this? These were these tonsured men wearing like white and, saffron robes from a different culture, singing about something they didn't understand. But then you understand that that was a period in America where these gigantic music festivals were happening. It was the summer of free love, so to speak.
Okay.
So Americans were used to this kind of spectacle.
Okay.
And when Srila Prabhupada brought this, it was even more amazing for them and exotic for them, because here was somebody who was bringing the message of love, not only in their culture, but from an ancient old culture, which was obviously preaching this message of love and surrender and, love for God and faith in God, which is what they were really hungry for.
So were the hippies also not looking for some meaning in their lives?
Absolutely.
When Srila Prabhupada met them?
And most of the people who joined him in the initial days were all people who we would refer to as hippies. Which is why one of the things I mentioned in Sing, Dance and Pray, one of the messages Srila Prabhupada began to give early on is that you don't need the high of drugs that you are so consumed with. There is a higher cause and a higher consciousness and a higher taste. And that high is the high of Krishna.
Okay.
Right? And there were pamphlets published saying that, look, if you want the real high, so to speak, a high that you will never have to come crashing down from, that is the high of the love of God, the love of Krishna. That can fill your life with so much joy and so much happiness that you will never have to, come crashing down, which is what any psychedelic substance would make you do. It will only make your life richer, more beautiful. It will not destroy you.
So ISKCON came out of Gaudiya Vaishnavism, but it has adapted itself so well to the people living in other countries. And I guess that is the reason for its gigantic success as well. So what are those factors, Hindol? Can you, if you shed light on them?
I'm so glad you mentioned this, because that is also why I wrote Sing, Dance and Lead. You see, again, Sing, Dance and Lead came from this thing that in India, we barely ever look at leadership and study leadership from our perspective. All our leadership examples are externalized. There is so much leadership that we can learn from our spiritual traditions. I mean, think about Vivekananda. What was he if not a leader?
Correct.
Right? Think about Srila Prabhupada. At the age of nearly 70, a man pops up in America. He has no money. He has no contacts. He knows no one, right? He's already elderly. He's unwell. He's already had 2 heart attacks. He has never left the shores of his country before this. How did he, within 10 years, build a movement that created 100 temples in every continent around the world? How did he do it? it's incredible. It's an incredible story of leadership. It's a case study.
True.
It's just that we have never looked at this as a case study. I want to ask the question, which everybody should, how did they, obviously they had to raise enormous resources to make this happen. Where did the resources come from? What were the ways and means that they raised the resources? How did they deploy the resources efficiently? How did they build this entire movement using people who had no access before this to Indian culture? These were not people who knew Go Seva or love of Krishna or Bhakti or Aarti or Puja or anything. These were all young, largely white people from America, from England, from Scandinavia, from Australia, whatever, right? How did they join together and again, the man who was doing this was an elderly, short Indian man. It's not some glamorous rock music-like figure at all.
Yeah.
And yet he managed to do it. How did he do it? I'll give you one example which is particularly close to my heart. When I studied leadership, right, when I was at Columbia Business School, one of the things that came up was this quite famous management theory and lesson called servant leadership. It's quite a famous theory. A lot of people know about it. It occurred to me that Gaudiya Vaishnavism has had servant leadership for hundreds of years. It is because they have this, that every Gaudiya Vaishnavite monk is called Prabhu. Because they are in service to the Lord and in service to humanity.
Okay. Yes.
It is and everything that they do is actually in service. That's their definitive principle. But we never learned service. You go to an Indian management college, they never teach you servant leadership using these examples of these case studies.
Right.
They will pick up the American professor who wrote a paper.
Yeah.
I'm not diminishing that professor. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm not mocking it at all. I admire the scholarship and I respect it. But I'm saying, as an Indian, if all our examples and case studies are always from a different culture, then how will we build our culture, our civilization?
So our culture anchors are outside India. Our metaphors are from outside India. So, but it's a great thing that you brought this out. Hindol, tell us also about, you're talking about servant leadership.
Yes.
So this also comes from the very philosophy of Gaudiya Vaishnavism, of Achintya Bhed Abhed.
Correct.
When the person is divine, the divine element is within him and he is no different from the Parabrahma, and yet both are different.
Yes.
So tell us how this also plays within ISKCON and the leadership.
So I'm actually doing this, I'm working on this new project on looking at pluralism, the idea of egalitarian pluralism using Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Achintya Bhed Abhed. I'm writing one big biography of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and I'm writing this as a separate project.
Okay.
Because I think we must study this unique Indian idea of pluralism. Think about it. What is Achintya Bhed Abhed saying? It is saying that yes, of course, you are identical to God, and yet you're not God.
Yes.
Right? So you can be similar to another person. You and I, as far as our consciousness is concerned, are in fact one, and yet in a physical form, we are also different. It is only when we understand this coming together of Bhed and Abhed that we can truly build a plural society. The great flaw of Western liberalism is that you want everybody to become uniform.
Exactly. Exactly. This is this anxiety over universalizing everything.
Everything has to be universal and uniform. The reason why globalization failed is because people like Tom Friedman tried to push this idea that the whole world was flat. Why was it flat? I mean, even as a student, when he wrote that book, I was a student in school. But even as a student, I felt that this is deeply problematical. We are all one because everybody is wearing blue jeans and everybody is going to McDonald's. That is the most shallow idea of becoming one that anybody has ever placed. Those were the days when this idea, again, Tom Friedman and others used to push that supposedly countries who both have McDonald's, it's called they even gave it a fancy name, because it's American, right? The Golden Arches Theory.
Achha.
What is the Golden Arches Theory? Countries that both have McDonald's are at a particular level of economic progress, so they won't go to war against each other. It's completely untrue. It is totally false. This is a false notion. You see, this is the problem. The West understands uniformity and unity only via making everybody identical. You have to be identical for you to come together.
And identical to them.
Exactly. And identical to who? You must be like us for us to accept you. This is a fundamental mistake. I think India has a much better idea. And you see, when the pushback against this kind of uniformity happens, in the great woke movement, that, we all have our identity. But there also, it's actually you're pushing a different kind of uniformity.
Exactly.
You may say that, okay, I have the liberty to choose my gender and choose my clothes and choose my whatever else. But here also there's uniformity. I have to believe exactly what you believe in order to be acceptable.
Exactly.
Otherwise, I'll get cancelled.
Yes, yes.
So can you see that no matter how much the West tries, they cannot understand genuine egalitarian pluralism because it's just not in their DNA in a sense.
In their worldview.
In their worldview, this thing doesn't exist. Whereas I feel Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Achintya Bhed Abhed is an incredible idea. Imagine, it's not even saying you're one with another human being. You're saying you're one with God and yet you are not God. Right? It is the most beautiful way of saying each of us have the divine element within us. And yet, of course, we are different. The way we look is different. The way we might think is different. What we eat is different. And yet, because we have that divine consciousness,
we are the same.
I have the greatest affection and respect for you as a human being because you have the same divine element as I do. And as she does, and as he does, and everybody else around us, right?
Yeah. So therefore, we do not have to tolerate another person.
Exactly.
We can respect them and accept them as one of our own.
What you just said, of course, is what Vivekananda said, right? That this tolerance idea is a flawed idea.
Yeah.
You don't have to tolerate. What is this idea of toleration? Is that I really dislike you, but I
have to bear with you.
I have to bear with you. That's not the right idea. And think about it. This idea for us as Indians is not only to do with human beings. We say this is applicable to everything that's living, to the plants next to us, to the waters that flow in our rivers, to the trees that grow in us, to the animals around us, right? Yes. Because each of them have life.
Yes. They're sentient beings for us.
They're sentient beings for us. And therefore, I feel that even in my other work, Indian civilization is best placed because of embedded ideas like Achintya Bhed Abhed and others to build a post-anthropocentric worldview for the universe.
Well said. Hindol, on that, please also tell us about your other work, which kind of links to this, and this idea.
So I'm writing this big project on India as a civilizational state. You've heard other people talk about it, including the foreign minister. I've been working on this for a while now. I've written articles and essays and so on and so forth. But I'm answering the question in that book, what does it mean to be a civilizational state? It's all very well to say I'm a civilizational state. Okay, wonderful. Why am I a civilization state? I have a great history. Okay, that's also great. But is that enough? And my argument is it's not. You can only claim to be unique and different if you provide the world a genuinely new way of understanding how human life progresses. Please remember, America was accepted as a great idea because genuinely America presented a new idea to mankind. of liberty and equality, that all men, in the Declaration of Freedom, all men were born equal, right? And that equality, of course, they had this whole slave trade and so on and so forth, but they broke away from it and presented this idea before the world, breaking away from centuries of imperialism. Right?
Yes.
To say that all people are, all men are, and women are made equal and they are equal, right? But that phase is gone. I think humanity now needs a different vision. And that vision is a post-anthropocentric vision. You see, the way the West looks at the world, it's a bit like if you've read Ayn Rand, if you read Fountainhead, it begins with Howard Roark standing on that cliff and he's laughing at everything that's in front of him.
Yes.
That is an image taken from the Bible. In Genesis, there is a clear idea that God created
The world.
the world and then made man in his own
Likeness
image,
and
in his own reflection and likeness, for man to then sit at the top of the pyramid.
Right.
The world was there for man to exploit and use as, when I say man, of course, I also mean woman,
Yes.
for human beings to exploit and use as they would. But we know today that vision is deeply flawed.
Yes.
We need a vision where it's not a triangle with human beings on the top. We need a cyclical vision where every living organism is part of a chain. Not a chain where, a series of the lowest is food for the higher one and then food, not that sort of a chain.
Yes.
But a chain of equal respect because it's living. You see, this comes fundamentally from the way the East looks at time. You see, the Western imagination of time is linear, whereas our imagination of time is cyclical. This cyclical imagination of time allows us to build this post-anthropocentric imagination.
Right.
And I think with the coming of AI, with the absolute degradation of our climate, with the degradation of our natural, universe, we are now at a stage, and with the real possibility of us understanding what consciousness is, right? Like David Chalmers, hard problem of consciousness. We are closer than ever before to solving the hard problem of consciousness. India is at this intersection of all of this to provide human society a post-anthropocentric point of view. A view that does not say that human beings are at the top and we will exploit everything.
Correct.
And if only India is able to provide this post-anthropocentric point of view, then we can claim that, yes, we are truly a civilizational state and our civilization stands for this. You would have read this wonderful essay called Swaraj and Ideas. This would be our true Swaraj and Ideas.
Correct.
Because you see, it's not enough, you're an academic yourself, Rinkuji. It's not enough to provide nuances and papers if we don't change the framework.
Correct. Because those nuances get fitted into the framework.
Exactly.
To adjust to it.
Exactly. You see, international relations, which I teach, right? It's very difficult to imagine international relations without the framework created by America. Because epistemology भी उनकी है, frameworks भी उनके हैं, therefore pedagogy भी उनका है. So
रिजल्ट भी वहीं से आएगा.
रिजल्ट भी वहीं से आएगा. आप उसमें एरिया स्टडीज लेवल पे काम कर सकते हो.
बस.
This is the thing, right?
Correct.
You will always be area studies. So you can say, हाँ, India में ये हो रहा है. But you can never say, this is the breakthrough idea. Because all the breakthrough ideas have all been done. And if you go outside the framework, they will say, this doesn't work.
Correct.
Right? Because all the big daddies have, created the framework.
Absolutely.
And I am saying, this is exactly, in a sense, The Chinese also say, right? But the Chinese, you see what has happened with the Chinese is they have become so enamored with a particular kind of consumerism that, and Mao spent so many years destroying their culture that they are grappling, they're like Trishanku. The Chinese are a bit like the Trishanku. They're doing amazing work. I mean, I respect their advancements in technology.
Right.
But culturally, they're a bit like Trishanku. वो ना यहाँ के हैं ना वहाँ के हैं. ठीक से. Whereas India still retains, with all our flaws, and both you and I know what the flaws are, with all our flaws, with all our imperfections, with all our inconsistencies, we still retain that unbroken civilization.
Right.
We never had a cultural revolution. We never had a great leap forward. We never tried to burn all our books and destroy all the temples. We had invasions, but those were done by outsiders. We never had an internal destruction like that.
Correct.
So we still have that chain, right, of thought. So therefore, we have to think we can't be area studies anymore.
Right.
We have to provide frameworks. And frameworks which are new, which go beyond. And I really feel, at least that's my argument, that there is no point of talking about spirituality and consciousness and so on and so forth unless we create the frameworks to understand this at a global level. And all the people often ask me, on one side you're doing politics and history and international relations, on the other side you're doing religion. But I don't see the dichotomy at all, because the ideas I'm trying to put forward would not have existed if the spiritual base was not there.
Correct.
I would have also gone round and round with the same, the same few ideas. You go round and round, you say realism and the constructivism and whatever. I'm saying all that is great. That's amazing.
Yeah.
But India now has to take humanity forward. And we will only go forward if we delve deeper into our understanding of human consciousness and provide a post-anthropocentric imagination for the world. Today, you'll be surprised how many young people come and tell me that they are on anxiety pills.
Yes.
They're on depression medication.
Yes.
And yet, I also know simultaneously so many young people and older people who have effectively gone away from such anxiety and depression by choosing meditation, by choosing deeper spiritual practices.
Right.
Right? This centeredness, as AI comes into full play around us, people will feel more and more anxious. They will feel more and more decentered.
Yes.
But that centeredness to really look at the world from a post-anthropocentric point of view, this is India's, in my humble opinion, this is India's task. It is India's journey. And as Indians, we must come together to present this vision to the world. Right? Aurobindo wanted exactly the same thing.
Yes.
Right? We must present this view to the world, which goes away. And we don't have to do it by rejecting the West. Sometimes the conflict with China is they always reject the West and the West rejects China and so on and so forth. We are respectful towards everyone. But we have a unique point of view.
To put forward for the entire world?
Absolutely. And we must coagulate and come together, because this is not one person or two persons' job, right?
Correct.
This is not something only a government can do. This Indian society and people have to come together and understand this better and create frameworks
Right.
that would be able to, just before this conversation began, you were telling me amazing stories of your own experience in different parts of India, including villages and rural areas. A lot of academics and people making frameworks have never seen these things.
Correct.
So they have no idea what's happening on the ground.
Yes.
So I really, really passionately feel that this post-anthropocentric point of view is India's destiny to present to the world. All our gurus in the past have suggested that India has to present this to the world. And we can only truly claim to be a civilizational state if we present this view to the world.
So Hindol, you've written about on the Ashtavakra Gita also. Now
Yes.
this text is little known,
Yes.
outside very scholarly circles or people who read it on for a
That's
certain
right.
purpose. So tell us about that and how does it connect to your own life?
No, I'm so glad you asked this because the Ashtavakra Gita book is really, in many ways, a turning point, a definitive point in my life. I wrote that book with the late Bibek Debroy, and who was in many, many ways my mentor, my very familiar to me, my elder, somebody who, my guide, somebody I learned so much from. And I knew him for a long, long time. He was very close to my family and so on and so forth. And it was a real honor to work with him because he was truly one of the gurus, like he was really one of the great scholarly minds of India. It's a great loss to lose him. But I also wrote the Ashtavakra Gita book, in a sense, because I used to turn to reading that book when my father fell very, very unwell. So my father suddenly out of the blue, tripped and fell, and that, in a sense, triggered spinal issues, and then which aggravated, and then went on to have a terrible stroke, something called the pontine infract, which usually the pontine infract takes away, speech and everything, right? I mean, it's so he had a very, very debilitating stroke. And I was really confronted, in a sense, with my father's mortality. I want to put to you that I realized in that moment also that Indian children actually never become adults until they're confronted with their parents' mortality. And Indian sons in particular never really, I think, become, like some switch goes off when they see their father's mortality. And it happened to me, and that's why I'm sharing this with you. So this was a very, very difficult time. By God's infinite grace, my father's still, of course, bedridden, but he's with us, and his speech has come back, and so on and so forth, for which we are very grateful. But for a time, we really felt that this was not going to, this was only a matter of days now. And it was a tremendously painful situation for us because only a few weeks before all of this happened, my mother had fallen and broken her arm. My father's now 82, my mother's 75. She had 3 titanium plates put on her arm. So we were going through an immense period of, and this was actually in the late period of COVID. COVID was still very much with us.
Oh, okay.
So we were just really grappling to try and figure out what we are going to do, how we are going to exist, how we are going to make this happen. And I used to keep reading the Ashtavakra Gita during that. And something seeped in me. I tell you, Rinkuji, it's very difficult for me to explain to you what happened. But something in that text seeped into me. And I really felt that the message of Ashtavakra to say that, look, all of this is an illusion, right? I mean, your freedom will only come when you realize that it's an illusion. A lot of people mistake this idea by thinking that, oh, therefore I should just forsake my responsibilities. That's not the lesson at all. In fact, if you truly understand that this is all Maya, you will do your responsibilities in an even better way because this is the karma that has come to you.
Correct.
In this lifetime. You must do it with even greater diligence. That's the only way you will, in a sense, complete the cycle, right? So, and I used to share, I shared all these things with Bibek Da, and then, he had not translated the Ashtavakra Gita, and he had thought for a long time that he must translate the Ashtavakra Gita.
Achha.
And by some, I can only say mystical connection or spiritual connection, we started working on the book and we managed to finish it. And the book got published only barely 6 months before he passed away.
Oh, achha. Okay.
Like literally a few weeks after the book got published, he was hospitalized, he fell very unwell. And weeks later, he passed away. So it was almost like this was meant to happen. And it therefore really made me think very deeply about why do I do what I do, right? And I realized that every human being has certain things that they can offer in their lifetime, whatever they may be. It could be love for their family, it could be work in a particular sector, it could be whatever it is that they. But that task ideally ought to be completed in their lifetime, because if it isn't, you're carrying that karma forward again. And that's not the right way. You need to complete the cycle. And I really felt at that time with the book that everything else is fine, but I will focus on completing these tasks. And when Bibikda went away, I really felt, I keep telling his wife, Shuparnadi, that I really felt that an additional responsibility had come upon me. That there were tasks that he wanted to complete that I must fulfill. Now, I will never be able to do it at the level that he did, but to whatever extent I can do in my own humble effort, I must complete these things. And I think I just became more and more resolute that my duty is to my parents who are, deeply ailing, and to complete these tasks, because Vivekda would always tell me that India is going through a very difficult inflection point, and the path ahead will not be easy, because nobody wants to see a culturally confident billion people rise again.
Asians on top of it.
Right? So one more. China's already happened.
Yeah.
No one wants to see one more culturally confident billion strong people to rise again. And everything possible would be done to try and stop this. And we are seeing all that pan out. Every day we are seeing, exactly that pan out. And therefore, Indians have to come together to become even more resolute and more determined that we will not cower down and we will not be stopped, and we will fulfill not only our life's destiny, but also our nation's destiny, our culture, our civilization's destiny. Now, all of us are tiny, tiny, tiny little cogs in this grand Mahayagna, so to speak, right? This grand, grand project.
Correct.
We are all tiny specks of dust in this, in the flames that are rising from this yagna. And yet every dust counts.
Correct.
Right? And yet every little dust also counts. So therefore I feel, and I say this to a lot of young people too, and older people, whatever you can bring to the table for this, you must. Some will bring, writing and thought and scholarship, like people like you and me, right? Some will bring monetary support. Some will bring political support. Some will bring organizational support, the ability to gather together thousands of people for a cause. Whatever you can do, we are all, I genuinely feel this, and, I sometimes hesitate to say this because it might sound too exotic or, whatever. But I really feel from the bottom of my heart that Indians are now part of this massive yagna. We're all part of this, and we have to make it happen, And remember, in our own Puranic stories, a lot of times when the rishis began these great yagnas, they were always
Asuras.
Constantly trying to interrupt the yagna, because if the yagna succeeds,
yes,
it will be a whole different ball game, right? So you will face a lot of us Yasuras saying, I will pour this into the fire, I will stop it, I will, destroy it, I'll attack you, and this, that, and the other. But we must be resolute and determined to make it happen. That's our task in our lifetime. Everybody who's alive today in India
has a responsibility to this.
Absolutely. We all collectively have a responsibility to make this happen. And we all, at the time when we all, whenever our life comes to an end, who knows, no one knows what, God has in store for each one of us. But if we do this, I feel at that end moment, we will look back and say, I did my bit. I was a speck of dust, but that speck of dust also contributed something, right? Because it would be very tragic for us in this generation to feel that we were not part of this.
That we were lazy.
Yeah, we were lazy, we were distracted, We never
Or
bothered.
apathetic to the entire cause.
Apathetic, we were selfish. Sometimes we were genuinely against it also because we're so indoctrinated
Yes.
that we tried our best to. We were part of the asuras trying to stop it. Right? That would be a real tragedy. And no doubt some of that will happen. But I do really feel that, we really, I wish people like Bibek Debroy was still with us. Because I think at every level, we will need gurus, whether they are from the world of scholarship or from the world of faith, and spirituality. We will need gurus to guide the path. But we still have the blessings, even if some of them are no longer with us. Anyway, as Hindus, we know that the physical body is just one part of it, right? There could be many other ways that a guru or gurus or great masters can be with you. I feel, this I think is our manifest destiny, and I think we must make it happen. We really must make it happen. And institution building is very, very important in that. And in that, the work that you all are doing in the Saryu Trust is absolutely incredible and so admirable, because sometimes what happens in India is everybody is doing their individual thing, right?
Correct.
It never comes together and acquires real volume and real heft because it's all individual effort.
Correct.
It's never institutionalized and given shape, given form, so that, it is far more resonant.
Correct.
I think, institutions like the one that you're part of are incredible efforts. All of us should, of course, support these efforts and so that we are able to make this happen. And, people like me, our work, and now, of course, as a teacher also, I keep telling my students that, generation after generation, this is the way the baton gets passed on, right? I am only saying things that I was taught by my gurus. And I can only teach what I was taught. And I can only hope that at least a few people will understand.
And build on it also.
And build on it. And they will have, and younger people have new ideas. They will have no technologies that I am not aware of.
Yes.
They will take it to a whole new level. But there is still, even for all of us, there's a lot of work ahead and to be done. And I'm very grateful and thankful to you for this opportunity to at least be able to talk about it.
I'm very happy to have spoken to you today. It was a fantastic conversation. And you've given us so much food for thought, Hindol. And as you ended your words with Charai Veti, the Vedic Vakya.
Of course.
So I wish the young people would look at this talk, hear it again, build India, build a new India with new dreams, and which is deeply rooted in our civilizational ideas. Thank you so much for being with us, Hindol. We wish you all the very best in your further journey of writing, of teaching, and all the other endeavors that you pursue.
Thank you very much. I'm so glad you said Chirai Veti, because I think about that all the time. All the greats, from the Adi Shankaracharya to Swami Vivekananda, all these people who traversed length and breadth of the country. And yes, that's the only way to understand our country. We all have to keep walking. Just to give you one reference, if I may, with your permission.
Sure.
There is a Spanish poet I really love and, whose work I really cherish. And he said this beautiful line that there is no real path. The path is made by walking. We keep looking for paths, but there is no such thing as a path. A path is made by walking. As we walk, the path gets created. And I think that is such a beautiful thing.
Correct.
And Srila Prabhupada, who we've been discussing, created that path,
Exactly.
right? Just by walking. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you for being with us.
Thank you.
Namaste.
Namaste.